All right, so as we go into the end of the day, as you guys can see, there is some empty space. I'm looking at this, and more than likely, we will go down and touch that 564.50 if, and this is only if we lose the literal current floor that we're sitting on top of, which is the same floor from this morning across the board, and that may happen as I speak. There is a median right there around 564.83. We just tapped it. Damn, I'm good. But so right there, but this could lead to, of course, a dump down into that, and this would change that 24-hour candle and put it back down underneath the wick. So that's something we need to pay attention to as we go into the end of the day. But so far, the candle is closing green in empty new all-time highs. So if you are watching, that's something to look for. Now, how you dump will dictate how tomorrow goes. Boom, right there. So both of those reacted, letting you know that the structure is within are within this 5 minute time frame is obviously sound, but that floor right there, obviously would need to be lost. So if anybody is short, take a look at that. This of course does set us up, regardless, for that median or that box setup, regardless. So what you guys do with that is up to you. SPY, same deal, except for it already did it. So honestly, with the Qs, it's not a bad idea because it is one is leading for sure. Um, what? Wow, what? Money bags. Yeah, 563, but it would have to recover that median. So, but anyway, that being said, now that it's reacted, SPY, this 24-hour candle is basically exactly what I was just talking about with the Qs, where it's closing closer to that wick. This, of course, does give you an engulfment or we don't know yet, a range. So we'll see if we can continue moving down. There is still a gap you guys, I'm sure, are well aware of at 627.92. And right below that is pretty serious sell level around the 626.85, 627 mark. So again, I don't play at all-time highs. This is also one of those setups where it is inviting for day traders to potentially look into taking this down. That is not a box, that is a range. Potter nice Goku Funko. Oh hell yeah. So anyway, that being said, let's look at IWM. And this one is moving currently as we speak into this 221 potentially. It's trying, you can see, to pull itself back up before the candle closes back on top of that floor. 15 minutes, same story. That's clearly one of the imbalance targets. So 24-hour candle close stays in range today. Almost perfectly wicking off of the same exact mark that we've continuously held, and that's that 224.50 area. So that leaves room for speculation. Again, I don't place a whole lot of money into areas that I don't understand or I don't see a setup in. So if you decide you want to try to trade this down because of the lower highs and the rejections coming off of that 224.50, that does swing the probability in your way. You do need to pay attention to how we've fallen, and you'll notice that there is pockets of empty space, perfect boxes, which likely will lead or fuel a reversal when the time is right. Oh hell yeah, nice job, Dre. Um, yeah, I didn't. It's inside of a range, so if you guys were able to catch something on that. But anyway, as far as long swings, let's talk about KSS because at the moment, this shit sucks, dude. Fuck, I scammed you guys again. So sorry about that, but 266% for me on the that's actually for this week. I bought those off the top, and then 76% on the August 1st. So we're almost halfway there. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we are. Yeah. So we're pretty much at that pocket again. what is telling me to get out of this trade. If you decide to do that because of fear or whatever, again, I'm going to rinse and repeat. Sometimes these don't work out. Sometimes they do. If you have reduced your risk, very good. That is okay. Obviously, trimming profits or taking the original amount of money that you put into the trade out so it is actually free isn't always a terrible idea. But that, of course, is up to you. But I do see 1121 as a good target. And I also think that based on the way that this box is set up above us, if we move in the right manner, we could even see up into that 1275. So I like it a lot. I did take August 22nd, yeah, or 20, or what? Not, no, 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 not August 22nd. I took July 25th, and then I took August 1st. So the only resistance in front of me is the imbalance, which we're dealing with now, which can completely derail an empty space filling up, right? So I had a little channel here. We'll go ahead and just fucking delete that. There's no need to keep it. Uh, and it's ripping literally right now as we speak. But or at least I'm looking at the 24-hour. But anyway, yeah, I mean just one in resistance in front of me, so add a week. But of course, there's just flat up, straight up empty space in front of us, so I took the 11s. Especially if we cross 1050, 11's the only strike buyers are going to want. So, all right. So that is KSS. NIO had a pretty what's up? NIO had a pretty good day, guys. We wicked up. Didn't quite get to the candle close that I wanted at 670, but we haven't lost anything yet. So I am still hanging on to my trade. And, again, this is free in profits. It's not something we're looking at taking. It's something that most of us are just at the end of the trade with. But, awesome trim today. That's about it. All right. Apple needs a look because this is obviously torturing all participants involved, right? With today's wick up towards that same candle bottom, the 215.75, right? That basically is separating us from the rest of the empty space up to 221. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves when we're in these situations is, what have we lost, right? Or where's the catalyst or the trigger down? So before we start moving bearishly, we have to confirm that that is in fact what is happening. Now, in my opinion, this is something that Apple could manage to recover, and it isn't, I mean, it's something I more or less would think the ETFs might make for a better hedge, but ultimately, there's enough structure underneath us that even if I really think that it's this level right up in the 211 area that we can bounce. And we've done it before. You break out, you retest, you pop, right? And then that's when you made that high. So I'll let price do what it needs to do. If you have the right expiration, you can. If you don't, then you don't. And you have to get in either intraday or find a good bounce and something extremely low risk. But if you move to the 5-minute, you'll notice that it is starting to create some control, right? See how that sinks right into there beautifully. And so I believe that there is still a good chance for Apple to try to give us the reversal that we're looking for, especially over that 213.50 and especially punching through that 214.36. So looking pretty juicy. All right. What else do we got here? PDD needs a look, just real quick. And I have nothing to say because there's really nothing to say other than if you're in, cool. If you're not, I don't know if, again, that's not really something I like to get into after the expansion has happened. But if you are in, we are still looking at that 115 area. Nothing about this candle is telling us to get out. But it is, of course, PDD and the Chinese stocks. So, yeah, that's it. You just need to, there's no reason or nothing on the chart quite yet that is telling me it's time to vacate that trade. So, all right, if you have anything that you would like for me to take a look at, I'm going to try to move through these quickly. If you can, let me know what it is that you're looking for out of, I don't need a request. Fred, please, a bit confusing. Oh, I thought you were calling me Fred. Okay. I thought, yep. You confused me. But yeah, let me know what you're looking at and why, and we'll see. So you're looking at Nvidia down. So I think we talked about this too as well. And you're playing with fire. You know, there's no question about that. It's okay. You know, there's people whose job it is to literally play with fire. So there's a way to do it safely, right? Um, Saw some lady swallow a sword that was on fire one time, and it scared me. But anyway, that being said, 171.50, right? You got a nice structure directly underneath you, and that is going to give you a 170 trigger to the downside for a first target of 168, 167.94. Now, if you go down to the 2 hour, which I think is a better is the 2 hour and the 1 hour, both make it very, very clear, right? These two boxes all of a sudden merge, right? And so now you have a 170.92. Oops, nope, hold on. There's points of contact all across the bottom at 169. So it is going to be accurately a 170.78 trigger down 1 hour time frame. And let's also look at the fact that, you know, you are leaving, you know, low resistance overhead. So that 173 is absolutely a trigger to go and touch this again. But you have three rejections here at the top. If you're banging or if you're betting on Nvidia moving down, you know, you don't really have a confirmation candle at the moment. But if you have a good average, you know, that's not it's still risky because you're going against the grain. But of course, the 15-minute shows a 171.83, and that would be a pretty good place to have a stop loss. So when I short something, or I'm wanting to short something that's going down, which is rare, typically it's all about the stop loss, right? Period. Because you are going against the grain. So the likelihood of it going back up against you is high. So you have to take that in consideration. So XYZ is followed in the channel today, staying inside of its range after a big move. What do we talk about, right? What do we say all the time? I talk about it every single time, you know, we rip up and hit a target just like this. We go through waves, folks, where we consolidate and then we expand and then we consolidate, expansion, contraction, right? And because this might have a little bit more volume behind it, that contraction could possibly take less time. But ultimately, it is going to be based on what I'm assuming is going to be a 30-minute, 30-minute, 15-minute setup. And this is just going to help us. That channel that I just drew for you, that's going to be true, right? So that's the channel that we're currently operating in. The structure is here. These are good price targets, right? So 79 is going to be a good start, but it's this wall at 79.91, right below 80, basically 80. You know, you're waking off of 80. If you can get back up above 80, you'll test this floor again at 81.16, and then obviously we have an 82 target. So if you're aiming on XYZ, again, you're playing with inflated contracts. If that's something you're not already in, if it is something you're already in, okay. Yeah, I ordered some NeuroGum right here, brand new. Spearmint flavor. Did not read when I ordered it. It is extra strength. Pop 2 gums. Can't feel my face. All right, Klex. Sweat. Same thing that I said this morning, 55.86. You have a decent candle close. It's a poopy mover, right? So, you know, you get decent candle closes where you need to kind of confirm that continuation. It's a little bit weak right here. So I would be paying attention to what's underneath you. A gap up would be nice for sure. But you're going to need to use the lower time frame when you don't have better information. And that would give you kind of a cost basis around 53.36 candle close, trigger down. That was not a paid ad. Holy shit, dude. All right. DKNG, DraftKings. So it is holding, right? When you reject something, the job of sellers is to push you back, and you're not. So if you decided to take a little bet on this one, the low, obviously, I think we can all see the same thing, right? It's a little weak. You're moving up, and the only resistance that we typically have right, is going to be the 50% mark of the wick. And that is exactly what we're wicking off of, especially here on the 4 hours, $45 unless your psychological target. But we are holding above 44.64. So there's something to be said about that, right? So if you did have this or are looking into this trade, you could take it with a hedge, looking back down to 43.96. I don't know the cost of those contracts, but I would assume if you did full pull back down, it would likely be a lot more dramatic and more of a downside move. Honestly, man, I don't have a terrible feeling about that setup. It is DKNG, but as far as the 24-hour candle is concerned, and what's up above you, you don't. I'd have to look at the contracts, but I mean the target is official statement $48. So DK and G, Ivy, thank you for the gifts. Appreciate that. I'll be sending that back to you on Friday. I appreciate it though. It's awesome. Let's see, $48. Those are 3 cents, 4 cents, excuse me, 6 cents. I mean, that's for this week, so what's really in front of you, you can do a little bit of a study here. There is nothing but empty space up there. This is a large resistance overhead that, I mean, we've dealt with multiple times. It does look like a median target of 46 would be there. But I mean, yeah, when you reject typically, which you've already done, and that's the study, right? Is we're like, okay, we're rejecting here, you're pulling back, you don't lose anything, and buyers keep stepping up. So honestly, I mean, it could be worth obviously, yeah, it could be worth the risk. And then if you wanted to try to capture all of that, maybe add a little bit of time. So, all right, crowd is a bit confusing to me. So I'm just going to be honest with you. If I'm confused, I don't. It's just that simple. But and that's what this is. Period. There is no way around it. It is a confusing setup. In some regards, it's confusing in the sense where it has structure all around it. And that makes it really, really difficult to trade. You went back up, you filled some of the empty space that we talked about today, right? You did not reclaim a floor, but you didn't lose anything, and you haven't yet. So it's, again, something that I, would still be looking potentially back up to the upside. But that being said, let's look at this. That is absolutely the channel. Hmm. So yeah, again, I don't know if I would be well, if you're long on it, it definitely has potential with that, with that bounce that you just saw. If you can make it back up above, even just a candle close above 483 would be enough, but you could start aiming for 493.50. Yeah, so I mean, it's there, but again, and I'm gonna talk to new people on this. If you decide that that's something that looks good to you, I won't. I'm not saying don't do it. Do it and find out if it works. Then maybe you're good at that. But for those of you guys who are new, new especially, if something is confusing or just really like something like this, it's just something I don't worry about until you have the capital to be able to worry about it. Um, and if you focus on what's clear, like sure, things are gonna move that look like shit every once in a while, and it's gonna, maybe give you FOMO. But at the end of the day, I'd rather, be focused on what is super duper clear. Um, so, all right, Apple. So you got this right, Stelio. We're all in the same boat. If you're watching Apple, again, has it lost anything? No. Has it rejected up at the same, right around the same wick level, and basically the first green candle to our left? Absolutely. I guess one thing that we can say is it has lost or is back underneath 213. So what this does is basically make this something that you could just re-enter, right? If we're given that opportunity. But 213.71, which is the candle close here, If you can recover that floor at 213.25, like this could be something we look at entering later on, um, for shorter expirations. But I'm not sure if it is going to be earnings that gives us the move, which Apple isn't normally a huge. Sometimes it's give and take, but that might be where we see Apple actually make this move. But at some point, if this thing doesn't get moving soon, within the next couple of days, it's just not worth it. RKLB, Rocket Lab. Wow. Okay. Don't know where that came from, but apparently that is rejecting. So what was I thinking here? I would say 45.15 is an absolute target underneath you right now. First red candle to our left. Um, you can't walk in saying shit, but what's up? It's not in here. Yeah, it's in the garage. Oh my God. Anyway, it is falling really, really fast. So that is something to take into consideration at 44.97. But that's about it. If it doesn't bounce there or doesn't respond, that's where you could look at the rest of that empty space moving down. If you're betting on something big, right? The weekly is empty. So this is definitely something that if it continues to push down through these levels, and what you can do, and what I like to do sometimes is this, right? Is flip that chart upside down and look at it that way. Can help. All right, folks. Let's keep it moving here. Keep dropping the request. So ALK, am I feeling good about this earnings? I have a feeling that this one might not live up to the potential that we're hoping it does, but because of its low risk and potential high reward, I might hang on to it. Today's, candle, whatever. And I believe this is tomorrow, right? Or Wednesday. So, again, it's something that if you had a $10,000 account, $200, maybe. But at the end of the day, it has the empty space that we look for. I don't think that the news article that we saw is something that we need to really worry about. It was an IT issue, shit happens, but yeah, the open interest is low, but I mean, that's not a deciding factor for me. I mean, if I interest that can change. Okay, so today's wick is telling you exactly that's it. So make life simple for yourself, right? It is literally the top, today's high. That is the target or the trigger for a move to 25.80 and 27. And of course, there's more up there. Yeah. That's likely, if you look at the empty space that it has over here, it does chop, 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 just like it is now. And then it drops, and then it chop, chop, and then fires up, fills the empty space, and then goes back into demon land. Right? I mean, everything about this is meant to try to get you out. They're playing the long, long game. All right.
Going back up and filling the imbalance, it looks like it's kind of grinding up, like whipping up.
Yeah, but you also have to think you are playing GameStop. The contracts are always going to be fucking weird. Every time it pops, I mean, you could end up making it out pretty well. That's all you. That's all you guys. Today's scandal isn't terrible, but it's trickery. If you look at all of these pops, there's a lot of fuckery that happens before the actual pop. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, take your trade. If that's your trade, take it, or wherever that trigger is. It looks like right now you could have a good stop loss, probably around 23.75. Don't let me stop you. I just don't do it. I had my time. Long time ago. Ethereum? What the fuck? What do you think this is, dude? Do you want the Ethereum trust? Okay, so doing analysis on this is, kind of, it just makes more sense to look at Ethereum, I think. And that's where you kind of, it's perfect, right? In the sense where whatever Ethereum loses, so will this. And when I look at this, I see, okay, this is step one, right? That was a previous rejection level. and then this would be step two, and that's what is that, 3,500? Yep. So if you lose this, I see that, right? And it's a step by step thing. So you basically I mean, yeah, you literally go and you just do this. And you can even see like there's a weird open right there, but yeah, I mean, if you lose that, then that's gonna, directly, I would assume 25 would be the first target to the downside. Um, but that all depends on what you lose first, and the 2 hour on Ethereum still has plenty of structure underneath it. MU, plus, so I'm gonna say it again. I'm not a big fan of shorting the tops of large boxes, right? It gets crazy. Now, that being said, it's about where you position yourself, right? If that's what you decide you want to do, where you position yourself is a huge deciding factor in how successful you'll be in actually being, taking that trade. So I see kind of a smooth flow down, and I see the 113 floor that we're approaching right now. You can move to the 15, you start to see that it scatters. So taking a lower time frame trade and using a higher time frame stop loss would be a little wonky. So here's what I'm going to rely on. Do you see the top right there? The median right here? I would say right now it'd be 113.88, right? Now MU back, it has a lot of upside potential as well. And a lot of times we're going to go back down and we're going to bounce off of 114 or off of 111, off of the floor before we end up making a new high. So, with that being said, the focus should be realistically on 112.70. So, yeah, Neil, I just looked at that one. I, you know, I, uh, it's not for me. It just has a 55 target directly up above it. The boxes are hot dog water. So yeah, just not for me. But I did, yeah, 55 and maybe 57 are the targets I see above you, and then to the downside, again, not clear 48, but that's the first box underneath you. INTC earnings. So one can only assume that $26 would be the target going into earnings. I think this could be the catalyst to set you up for a run. No, you're good. For $30 target, weekly, is fine. The 24-hour, has this weird little channel right here. Of course, that could have people speculating there's a downtrend as well that you did break. I think that's worth noting, but it is waiting, and that's one thing that I think is important. Is that it is stagnant and has been stagnant going into earnings, which should give us the compression to actually make our way, up into that area. But we're in a box. Long expirations are big here. Bank of America. God damn, that cat keeps breaking into my shit. Will you stop? Well, domestic ass terrorist right there. Uh, ooh, so Bank of America ended up. Did it do what I said or what we talked about? Let's see.
And plus 48.
So it tapped the floor almost. Yeah, basically the wick, and then retreated back underneath. So what do you want to do to this? 48.50 target. Yeah, today's rejection basically just shut down, right, that potential for a short period of time. And as I move down into the lower time frames, things don't get any easier. So it becomes a battle, or rather a identification of what's most important here. And one of those levels is 47.38. Another one of those levels is going to be right here on the candle close at 47.50. So if that's lost, you'll lose this. If you lose this, then you have a box directly underneath you, and the breakdown could ensue. Now, as you move down, you'll notice that there is what we could consider to be relative. Yeah, there's empty space, right? And there's also, I don't know if I want to leave that there, but there is channels and boxes. So if you want to play Bank of America back up, you need to use the 5 minute fucking time frame, and a break outside of 47.60 and outside of 47.66 will get you traveling in the right direction And this box here in particular, with a 47.75 cost basis, should fire you up into that previous high. So, all right, CMG ER play. So first things first, you doing an overnight swing on QS? No. On the Qs or QS? I don't think so at the moment. Yeah, we'll see how we close, but probably not. I'm boring. It's at all-time highs, so you could just keep swinging puts to your right, but gotta look at the data and everything else. But all right, so you're operating in this channel. You're coming back down to retest a huge 52 for 42. You have a operating area here. So this is an interesting earnings setup because you have a cost basis up here, and that failed, and then you have a box underneath you. So if you can get a good bounce, we could see this, moving back up into that 58. But yeah, I wish I had or could see better on this one, but I see a potential catalyst down under 50 to go to 48. And then again, if you're looking at a complete reversal, and how you move on earnings is probably the bigger thing. Now, the reason that I have to do all of this work is because it's not clear, right? And that's the difference maker. Now, from what I can tell here, these earnings aren't really anything crazy, I don't really see any. I mean, I see some pretty big moves back in 2023, but that appeal has been lost. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that one. Rivian. Oh, so wick up today outside of the box into cost basis above, which is marked out here. And it looks like you're failing on that. Now, overall, I'm watching the weekly time frame, and this thing is a mess. But today's high is the trigger for a new high of $15.35. If this fails, and again, I'm not jumping the gun here, but there is so this is where Rivian gets rough, because ultimately you'd be looking for a drop down under the box into 11.15. Yeah, I have the same thing that I said on ALK. If you guys heard me yesterday or Sunday, or this morning, I am looking for that empty space to get filled. It doesn't look like a crazy play that I'm dumping all of my money into, but I'll look back at that right as we near the bell. So, Lucid. Sure. Yeah. So you do have a loss of that $3 mark. It looks like you're retesting the wick at 287, and you have is there an imbalance here? Have we tapped off of it? Damn. Okay, so via empty space, so let's go down to the lower time frame. All right, so now that we're here, right, I can start to see things like this. And that usually will tip me off, to where that control is at. But usually a wide fluctuation in price is where I'll expand that up. So there is actually some potential, right, behind Lucid reclaiming. And I think this level is relatively clear, which I need to mark that up. So you need to reclaim 289, right? And you're refusing even the first green candle to your left here at 286. So when that's reclaimed, empty space above, fill it up. And then really realistically over 310, you would then be looking at 332, maybe even waking out into the imbalance. So I think that if you're short, it's probably a wick up into that empty space and then another rejection, but you have hit the imbalance. So you have to consider that as the trigger. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, one of the reasons that I don't like to play the downside on, especially on things that have good volume, widely traded, or the reversals, because the reversals, basically, I mean, you are going to have to grab, especially if you're looking at a full on, reversal, you have to grab a little bit of a longer expiration. But after a big move, a lot of volume moves in, right? And how do institutions make a lot of money? By selling of options, right? And that is via chop. And so when I say expansion contraction, I really mean that, right? That is literally what you're seeing here is expansion contraction. So it would be the imbalance underneath you or under 275 where you could see that expansion. And I would expect for this half to move faster than the other half. But this is where, of course, you step back and you look at how price action is moving. It's tensing back up. So,
And there's a limit to how far something can fall too. I mean, you're at 280. It's $2. So
yeah, for sure. This is a great way of taking that volume on the options and trading wise and bringing it down.
or just take all that money and just put it in donut or D-nut. That'd be nice.
Lord have mercy. Deck to 90. Yes, I was looking at that one today. The contracts are kind of disgusting, but Lockheed Martin is nearing earnings soon. If that's not, yeah, I believe that's
It's in the morning.
yeah, tomorrow morning. Listen, a couple of earnings, have been pretty bad and good too, but mostly bad in the last couple quarters. Now these ones you can see strong movement overhead, so it definitely has the potential to, get up to 290, 490, 275. But we are all probably seeing the same thing, right? It's moving down, and it does have a lot of rejections off the top. So this is not one of those setups that really intrigues me a lot because it is inside of a big ass weekly box, right? And when you go into, yes, that tension could break and this could be the catalyst that gets it started, but you could only realistically, risk wise, aim for the floor, which is 420. It's not to shake a stick at, but it is 420 underneath you. And then the upside is actually limited to 501. 501 would need to be closed, or if you're looking at the 24-hour, you would need to punch through this box here, right? The floor is 494. So, yeah, it has tension, and yes, this could be the catalyst that breaks it, but it still doesn't change the fact that you're in this range. And so the news or the data would have to be monumental. And if you're betting on that, cool, just make sure you're using good risk. All right, so Tesla ended up gapping up, barely. I mean, great. I did, one of the levels that we talked about was that one, which was 338. I said second target would be 340. We did not reach that clearly, right? Now we did pull back, we did fill our gap, and we have bounce. But upon that bounce, you have yet to shake loose the grips of the structure that's underneath you, and that is that is something that I would take into consideration, whether you're long or short, is sellers are keeping their fists clenched at 331. So if 331 is broken, you have empty space up above you from today's dump, and you're sitting at cost basis. So if you could, honestly, it's not a terrible place to close. And it does have, because of the empty space above it, it does have the potential to try to make that reversal. So I would just, again, be in a read and react 327. Now on the 30-minute, you could wick down off of 325 and try to make that happen. But if you do punch down, there is another target underneath us, and that's going to be 324.30 and 321.60. So those are two levels that we have to pay attention to, because this might end up moving further down before it moves further back up. So NEM Thursday earnings, 24-hour.
DG put's been printing.
What would you say, Kate?
I was just saying that DG put's been printing.
Oh, nice. Finally moving. Ah, no. So you must have more points of contact off of that. Listen, this is borderline outside of, you know, well, you have a beautiful amount of consolidation and clear boundaries within that at 60.86 above and what looks like 57.10 below. Right now, above you, it has a floor, a must read, and that's the issue here. Is you do have a lot of boxes or volume sitting above you. So you have one right here, and then you have another right there. And so there's a series, right, of floors that need to be reclaimed. 6180 is going to be first, and that's where you're fighting right now. So everything is relying on that break. And if it does break, there is pockets of empty space up there. And I think, paying attention to how it moves on earnings, since this is, you are looking at this as a downside play. Here you get a pretty decent move from 58, down to 48, so a $10 move. So I would look at possibly 50 underneath you, and then I would say 67 above. Rocket. Okay, so we'll look at that next. Hold on. Everybody's looking at that one. So you're missing empty space. This one doesn't have a whole lot of empty space. So not super awesome, but it does look like if you are watching this one, this range right here has been crossed. You are closing flat up against it. So your next target is just 1581. The second target would be 1635, and from there, I think the top at 1687 is pretty important in terms of resistance. But you'll notice that you are in a weekly range, and that 1580, 1585 is pretty big. They've been promoting it like crazy on TikTok. What? Promoting what? Open? All right, let's take a look at open. So I mean, first of all, if you have this, yeah, I mean, hell yeah, I would be trimming. You've rejected strongly off of the $5 mark. You have a gap down underneath you. You have ripped from 62 cents all the way to 5. So if you have this, yes, I would probably take some profit. Talking about suppository chewing gum is a no-no on TikTok. Why?
I think you know why.
Damn. I mean, yeah, be careful about buying the extra strength ones, though. That shit's got me on a fucking roller coaster ride. I might sound calm, but internally, it's
The
way too.
hamster wheel is running. Starting.
Nah, it always reminds me of this like this meme from back when memes first started. It was like when you drink coffee and you feel accelerated but still equally exhausted. It's like a skeleton. Looks like it's like flying through hell at like lightning speed. I feel like that. Just hyper
Sounds
accelerated.
vulnerable.
I wouldn't say vulnerable. Why is that what you go to? That's wild.
What? No, I said sounds wonderful.
They said you sound vulnerable. It's like, what the fuck? Don't ever say that to me. Ugh, vulnerable.
That's crazy. That's what your mind heard.
Oh my god. This guy's a master manipulator here. Look at that shit. So real quick before I move on from the door. Everything that you need to know, right, in terms of reversals should be here. 15-minute. And I will say, stocks that are ripping like this, that have good volume, they operate pretty decently and I can see that across the board. So you're holding up right here. You have empty space back up above you. Go to the 5. Look at the 5-minute, right? So if you want to see Open Door make a new high, clearly the start is 394. Excuse me. No, I can't.
Hey Garrett.
Yeah.
My KSS contracts just went to 0. Is there a reason why that happened? I got them for August 15th. Like they were up, and now they're sitting at 0.
Said
It's
August
probably
15th.
someone messing with the bid and ask.
Or somebody dumped their position on your booty.
Sorry,
How
man.
much open interest do you have on those contracts?
That's a great question.
Hold on, I'm trying to find it. $11 calls.
11.5 for August 15th.
Oh shit. Oh my god. Oh. Yeah, everybody, let's lift this guy's position back up. Jesus Christ. Just buy a couple
Right? That
concepts.
shit dumped
Damn.
on me.
Underdog.
Damn. Okay, there it is. Is that back up? No. Damn.
What are you raising the ask?
Make it a wider spread.
Just put it like $5.
Not always dad is dad, because if the cost of those contracts are below like $20, then that OI will rise as you move to your target. Like this is momentary, I would assume, for him.
I sure hope so.
But what you're in a longer, you have a 3 weeks out. You're 3 weeks out with
Yeah, 3 weeks out,
3.5. So we're still $1 away. Realistically, 1050 hasn't even been broken. So as soon as you start making that move past the imbalance, you'll see that volume kick right back up in. Now
Is the open interest showing for you guys? Because on my Webull, there's no open interest. It's just like a dotted line.
what's
it's showing that, but most of mine are showing open interest.
Well, think about this, right? A lot of the times we go with shorter expirations in empty space, like closer. And I want to do that a lot of the times too, because one of the downsides of out of the money long-term contracts is not as many, there's just not going to be a lot of volume on them. So that's why when right now as we speak, I'm 266% on 11 calls for July 25th, and I'm only up 76% on the August 1st.
Yeah.
So
this week's contracts have ripped today.
Yeah. And so you're another, you've got, another week out. So clearly, that's, you're just dealing with right now, open interest is low and fluctuating, and somebody probably just sold their position, for for what they think is a decent gain, but those will get bought back up, all right. So IRBT, if you are buying contracts that are outside of the money on if you're buying contracts that expire sooner and have bad open interest and wide spreads, that's something to avoid, for sure. iRobot, so you've been trying, right, multiple times here, and I would assume that is it from here to, so right there. Okay, you could even just give that top right there. And so that is literally the 50% mark, right? Same thing as KSS. You're hitting it. Now, when you've hit that resistance, you've pulled back, but you've built up, right? And so there is still a chance, through further consolidation, that you could see a reversal, but there is a gap on the floor at 450, and that could be that catalyst down. So in the box, it's not my job to guess, it's my job to react. So until this is closing 4 hours outside of 485 or gapping up outside of 493, that's where you kind of have to sit on standby, because that is the first and most tangible resistance inside of empty space. Dollar General. So if you guys are short on Dollar General, I don't know why my line is right there, but I think that was one of the targets that I gave you. 106. So 24-hour time frame. You got a good push off that floor, right? Good job. And I marked out a imbalance target. I believe that was somewhere around that 106 area. Looking at the 4-hour, right? You can see the candle open and close right in that 106.80, 106. So that's one target that I would consider as well. You could probably get a little bit more detail on that target right here. What you'll see is the candle closed at 106.90 and 2 candles at 106.75. So that right there is your ticket to the rest of it. So, but good push down.
And we're closed.
That happened fast. All right, CVS. How the fuck did that happen? Terrible price action on this one, but it is pushing down through the median of this range. So I mean, at this point, and this is not your quintessential box. It is rough. It is almost closer to a range than it would be a box. You do have multiple. You do have one, and then you make a second one, but then you just go for it. But that being said, I think that you should be looking at that 59.50 floor here. If you're short. The next floor to lose is 61.30, and that should give way to that 59.60. So, I looked at that one, ALAB. So that one's, I'm not going to say it's done, but it definitely did its job, and that's going and filling up, what we could call decent okay empty space. But you did go and hit the first structure up above you, and it's going to be the same thing, right? You might get another day of rippage up into that 132 area, but you're probably going to get something that looks like this: expansion, right? Contraction, expansion, and so cycle into the next one. I would say that the 50% mark is probably your target there. So IWM. So again, you're free to speculate on this one because of the rejection that it made. I think it comes back around, regardless of how far it goes down. I think it comes back around because of the way it's falling, and fills up some of that empty space. Tomorrow, because we are at cost basis, there's a channel that we're operating in here. And so if we were able to get back up into that 222, and especially outside of 224, we would be looking for more upside. And that would be a target, I think, around 227.80. And then to the downside, of course, you do have that 218.31, but that should give way to a target of 215.92. So. Can you guys hear me on Discord?
No, did you say we're buying calls or puts? I didn't hear it.
Oh my God. Both, just buy both.
That's funny. I can hear you on Discord.
I have a video on charting on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Pretty much all my videos are charting.
Only 1 or 2.
Yeah, right. OKTA. Oh shit. So that definitely is a candidate. It has a tendency to give a rip for sure. So I could envision definitely something of that nature, going up to fill up, not to that mark, but at least I would say the target here through the multiple catalysts that you have would be that 121. And that's going to be and so this could be gearing up for that, but that's going to start with 96.88, 98.66. And then you have one last trigger, and that should be this one right here. Good volume is needed. Datadog. Shit. Yeah, they got hype, man, and they're using that hype to absolutely destroy some positions right now. Now, I'll tell you what, Datadog does not have what I would consider to be a favorable setup. This one either, I think, goes for it, like just goes, now that it's engulfed 50% of that red candle, it needs to finish the rest of that 50% up and 155 candle close, and you could be just looking straight forward. There's one box here And you can see, actually, that's cost basis. So 170.44. It has earnings. Well, I mean, I'll double down and tell you that if it has earnings, I don't see a setup that makes sense to me here, other than just literally ripping outside of that same thing. So, definitely something that would be hedged if he took it. But all right, Target. So Target is getting close we're getting close to earnings, but we're also building up in this area of consolidation, filling up all of that volume. And so again, I said this yesterday, 101 is that, or excuse me, 101 is that floor that I'd like to see pushed. I'd like to see a candle close over 103, any one of those. And I have alerts set. I think I'll add an alert to that one, but yeah, over 103.72, we could look for the third rotation back up. You do have earnings coming up soon, and this is likely what it's building up for. So you have volume stacked on top of volume, with volume ahead, with empty space above. It is starting to set up more like, you know what? Tell me that doesn't look like a carbon copy, similar. Box.
And Beyond.
Beyond Beef.
Nah, sorry, I thought you were done. I just had back on.
Lord have mercy. So similar setup, right? Empty space above. And Target's been getting the shit kicked out of them ever since they decided to switch gears. So that could be something to take into consideration as well. But it is not something I will go into without a hedge. 97.50 would be the first target down, as well as 92. Excuse me, 93. Sorry. All right. BA. Wow. So another day in the gulag, and today was a engulfment back down and at the close. Guys, I cannot give you any further insight than what you are probably seeing yourself. We're all looking at the same thing, right? So you got the wicks above, and this is where you're looking at points of contact, right? And each time frame is kind of relaying that a little bit different, right? We've got the hourly saying 228, and that is what you would use on the hourly. You got the 30-minute that correlates with that. We're at 227, basically 228. Yeah, it is 228. So 228 on the bottom, and then you've got the 232.40 on the top. You got to react to one or the other. Now, if you started taking a position now, especially if tomorrow goes green, if you started taking a position, I wouldn't blame you. And, it's riding this right here. You could literally take like a 219 or look up into the gap that you have to your left, all the way up at 243. Shit, if it wasn't 4 o'clock, I would have done that. Otter, you need some sleep. No, this is just how my face looks, buddy. Tomorrow marker will be selling off. Okay.
You haven't got one of those in a while.
I haven't. That was refreshing, actually. I feel more awake. Thank you. If you knew how much caffeine I was operating on right now. I'm sipping an espresso tonic after just chewing 2 of the fucking neuro gums. My heart's gonna explode.
Does anybody chart it Beyond, BYON, for earnings?
Stu,
I'll see it.
skedaddle, my boy. I don't think you will see me in the morning. How about that? That kind of attitude right there, go fuck yourself. Seriously, I could care less. You're not even using the famous 2-minute EOW, so you can't win. You're right, dude. That 2-minute EWO is just OP, dude. What will I ever do? Fucking ridiculous. Don't ever let me win anything big and be put on the stage. I will not be invited
Are you
back.
not doing any more requests, Potter?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I just
going
did a TDUP.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's okay. Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks like it's almost breaking out.
What about Beyond, Cade? Cade was asking about Beyond.
Yeah.
No, I
yeah,
think Chad.
after
No,
that,
Chad. I
after
just
that.
no, you're good. Chad was up first. Go ahead with tee up.
You got to write that shit down though, because I've got a goldfish memory.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Oh, there it is. So 5230 was clearly, multiple rejections off of this. You're heading towards the floor, so you got to look at the 4-hour time frame and start looking at what's underneath you. You have a box right here, and that's likely going to be your first target at 44.27, second target at 42.85. If that punches down, I'd be looking for a next target at 38.75, and second beyond that is 36.22. So, all right, almost done here. Cart, 24-hour time frame, wicked my target. Damn, right on the fucking penny. 49.91. You failed to accomplish that. You've left some empty space gapage kind of down below. So if you end up punching back down, which is a plausible outcome here, I think at 48.33, then we're coming back down to retest at minimum. But tomorrow, obviously $50. We need that to be retaken, and then we can start just looking up. So teed up. Teed the fuck up. Right up. So undeniably, you definitely have especially weekly empty space. And surprisingly, and this is how, some punchbacks go, especially if your journey to the box is long-winded, right? So you brought enough supplies with you to grab the floor and hold on to it. And I think that's probably one of the most important features about this chart, right? Is the weekly is going for that engulfment as well. So outside of 902, I don't think there's any reason why you should be aiming for 1265. So, FXS
Thank you.
coin. Let's see here. Yeah, no problem. BY on Beyond Beef. All I trade is options. No, I buy equity. Sometimes leaps, but mostly options, yes. I don't trade futures. I don't trade crypto. I just trade options. I'll try to get to that. Yeah. Trying to make my way through the list, guys. So weekly punchback is moving forward, right? And I think that leads you up towards the $13 mark. The 24 hours supports this theory, but does leave you with 1150. But I mean, you got the right direction. You got your foot on the gas pedal. So I'd be looking at 12 and that $13 mark. And unfortunately, on the 24 hour, that changes a little bit. So it might give you a little bit of extra allowance up to 1350. So.
I liked it when I first saw it, and then I noticed that Marcus Lemonis owns that company. I didn't even know that company existed. So
Interesting. This is a nightmare torture chamber here. So you were trying to hold yourself up above the top of that box. You failed. You pulled back. You're now at the top of the box that you originally punched through, and you're sitting there. You should have bounced. You haven't really done that, and you're still red. Let's go to the 4-hour where you can start to see some of the green candles and the empty space up above, basically leaving it with a perfect box. So if you can get back up above 438.50 and move through 448.50, which is empty space and cost basis, that could lead you to reverse. If not, you have another level below on the 4-hour, 422.15, and that's your first target of 415. So, all right. Do you think swing trading has a chance to be more profitable than pro day traders? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The way that market makers make money and people who are like running funds and it's mad different. But so for us to take that same approach, I think is just a bad out. It's just not going to work. Um, but I mean, I mean, even the pros, I mean, they swing trade for sure. I would say a lot of volume goes towards swinging. Day trading options is a momentary thing. So FXC coin, is that, or FCX coin? Oh, let me see, what was it? Cut it up. Oh Lord, have FXS. FXS coin. Against what? The US dollar? 24. Oof. Oof. Wow. Weekly. Well, I mean, the cool thing about this is you have decent structure. Bottom looks like hot dog water. But here's where I really be focused on is this overhead, which you're just pushing off of now. That would only lead you, right, up into this top, unfortunately. But that's just the way this cookie crumbles, and you're pushing off of it. So there is a potential for this to head down. Now, you lose, yeah, so there you go. The 2 hour is actually revealing the structure here. So you have a floor underneath you right here at 335. And that is not a floor, or just a floor, rather, that is cost basis. So I would say, yeah, 330 would be a trigger for this to fall further down or a area to bounce. LTD. Is this in our markets, dude? All I see. OTC. Jesus Lord. Netflix with a $7 drop. When did that happen? LSPD. So I don't even really like that box, if I'm being honest with you. Let's see. Touchdown. So I think the median here at 1326 and then the second one at 1433, that would be my two targets there in the short term. MA. This is a terrible setup. Just yeah, I did this one this morning. It just awful. I mean, this is realistically where you're consolidating. So you have your floor underneath you at 546 and top of a range at 542. And if you can cross the median here and get back up above 561, you would have a 570 and then potentially a gap. But this thing is still building. I know it has earnings, so if it does fire off on earnings, perhaps you can go fill that gap. It just seems like this thing is going to take a long ass time, and if you're on the 4 hour, the way that it's probably a little bit easier to interpret, but there's your range underneath you, there's your range on top of you, and then there's the range you're currently in. So you have to make a decision off of that. Lord have mercy. So this one's getting trapped, right? Pulled back underneath 1250. So I would say right now, with that candle closed today, you should be looking at 1204 for a retest at minimum. Now, if you cross that boundary, your second target could be 1171. Coke. So this one has earnings. It does have a lot of consolidation. Yes, there's a target at 6740 that I would be aiming for. And then a target really is only 7266 above, as well as 74. All right. That's crazy. Jerry, that one I did not like the contracts on. But I would make sure that you have at least a week past that earnings date. That's fucked up. Yeah, no problem. All right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll see if we can't. I know today some of you guys got some congrats to those who caught XYZ. If you have any gains to post them. But have it on Google. I guess I didn't do Google. So we'll do this one and close out. Jesus Lord, mercy.
Hey Potter,
Yep.
when you get off, can I have like 2.5 minutes of your time?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not gonna be long. Just want to ask you something.
Okay. So same thing, guys, that I said this morning. Right? The same thing. You're there. Now you're at the trigger to go and fill that empty space. You might get it 199. So yeah, ALK looks okay. It doesn't look as good as it's okay. It looks fine. All right. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. If you watch this back on YouTube, make sure to leave a like and comment if you can. But otherwise, I'll see you guys 8:30 tomorrow morning. Peace.